Hello, and welcome to Conversations Worth Your While. It's a show in which I chat with authentic, heart centered experts about interesting topics to spark, inspire, and motivate both personal and professional growth. And today we're going to talk about creating a home that feels like you without the overwhelm. And this conversation is worth your while because you know you'd love to have a finished home that you feel really good about. And you've probably started, but then what happens is you get all overwhelmed because you're like, scrolling Pinterest and you're like, oh my God, what about this? What about this? What about this? What about this? And that just causes you to feel paralyzed and less than. Well, the good news is there's a logical process to creating a home you love. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So I'm Linda Bucher, and I have the best job in the world. Well, maybe except for my guest. I help people to get unstuck. Wait a minute, just like my guest today, but in a different way. It's my superpower, and I just love empowering high potential humans to find their superpowers, to get to that next level, to get the most out of life, because guess what? That is what you are here for. And I do it as a transformational speaker, as a master certified life coach, of course, as a podcaster. And I just have been doing this for about 16 years now, and I love it. Didn't start this way. I was like this chameleon for like 45 years. It took me a long time to discover who I am and what's right for me. And then I rebooted my life, right? To match that, to match who I found, right? And guess what? You have a rich, full life to lead, and you have important gifts to give the world, and you have a splash to make, just like I did and do. So if that's what you're like into and you're like, yeah, I want some of that, then head on over to my website, lindabucher.com. You'll find all sorts of good stuff there to help you get unstuck and get into action. Okay, back to today's show, creating a home that feels like you without the overwhelm. Well, today I have the pleasure of being joined by Deborah Gregg of Deborah Gregg Designs, and she is making beautiful ripples in this world, and I will tell you why I personally know this. Well, but she helps homeowners to elevate the way they live by uncovering what they truly need to create a home environment that supports and inspires and reflects the people who live in it. And the reason I know this is because she has helped me design 3 of my homes, and one of them has a really interesting story, which we're going to talk about. So, Deborah Gregg, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited. I think it's really wonderful what you do, and I'm happy to be part of it today.
Thank you. And ditto. So, all right. So I'm going to kick this off with back in 2006, right? So like 19 years ago. Gosh, it's been that long. And my husband suddenly passed away in his sleep, and my kids were really little. And we had a cottage rental business, and we were turning one of the cottages. Our plan was to use it that summer and just make it our own, set like a little summer cottage, and have the kids raise them on the weekends there. That was our dream and our goal. And he passed away in May, so we hadn't rented for the whole season at all because we were going to take it over. And so I still wanted to honor what we had planned to do, to have my kids be at the beach on the weekends there. And this was a sad, shabby looking little ranch about maybe 10 houses off the beach. And it needed some big time help. Well, so did I as a grieving widow. And Deborah has been a lifelong friend, and she swooped in as a loving supporter and best friend, but also to help me to create something in that cottage that was healing for me, and to create the space that made me feel like me, because that's one thing, you don't even know who you are when you go through a big life transition. Deborah, what do you remember about that time?
Talking about the cottage, but I was thinking about your main home.
Oh, that one too.
Yeah,
We'll get
so
to that. We're going to
when I
get to
was
that.
right.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I didn't. I came and I stayed with you for a little bit, and I didn't intend on, changing your surroundings. I just was like, how can I help you as a friend?
Mm.
And I helped you in the way that I know how to help people. So what I learned that you needed, and just by knowing you and experiencing what you were feeling with this loss, I felt you needed some color in your life. So we took your main home right
Oh,
away.
Yeah.
we literally went to the paint store
Yeah.
after, talking about the colors that you like and everything like that. And we brought in right away, we brought in some color to your space, which changed things. It changed the mood immediately.
Oh, immediately. My kids were like, wow, mom, this room feels so calm because we were in chaos. We were in total chaos.
Mhm.
And yeah, you're right. The house was totally white. Every wall was white in the whole house.
And
And it
then
was,
your kids were having this loss, and so we
yeah.
actually included them in part of this process by doing, I did some paintings with them.
Mhm.
We controlled it by using the colors that we wanted to use. We gave them canvases and their brushes, and they made this beautiful series of paintings that we used as part of your design.
And I kept those paintings up until I sold the house.
Yeah,
Those kid paintings were so meaningful. I think they were 3, 5, and 7 when they painted them.
right.
You know?
So that's part of what I do too, is I try to bring meaning to the family or whoever lives there,
Mm,
to make them feel part of the home. So for
mhm.
you, your children having this loss and bringing them into something that was really important for all of you, and you're all included in that process.
Yeah, it was what was really cool about that is, when you're thinking like, oh, how am I going to design a home? Like, oh, I'm going to put paint on the walls. I'm going to pick out some new furniture. But to actually have you be the curator of
Yeah.
this art project, and we did go out to the cottage with the paint, because I remember you said you wanted them to not be looking at the house and try to mimic it, but to was coming out of their head and what did they feel, right? And put that down on the canvas for them. And then we had a little show and tell art show, right?
Our
I
kids are so easy. They're so easy, they just love, they'll just do whatever's natural for them to do.
Oh, totally. And then what was so cool is it was three, I remember it was three canvases, maybe 24 by 24, right? And I hung them and there was a way that they just seemed to like perfectly go.
Right.
Like this has to turn this way. This has to be the order.
I mean, I have to be clear. I did take the brush away from them when I said it was finished.
Yeah.
I had a little,
Yeah, like you're
art
good. You're done.
directorship in there. So
Right, right. Yeah. Yeah. So putting something personal, that's something that I think people don't get. They get overwhelmed, but they also get like I know people who are looking through like the Ballard design catalog all the time, and then everything in there looks exactly the same. So if you buy all your stuff from there, it's so matchy. And same with
those, those,
furniture stores.
those kind of store curations are made for people that don't know what to do, and they just go, okay, I'll just take this room. But you end up with very vanilla, nothing personal. It doesn't, in the end, it doesn't give you what you're looking for, even if you
Mm,
don't know what it is you're looking for. And I can help you with that today.
right. Yeah. I know. We're going to
But
talk about how that's going to be really cool because, yeah, I mean, I love going into furniture stores, but then you look at it and it's just like, oh, here's the whole set. You can get the whole living room for X amount of dollars. And I'm like, but it looks like it just looks like you moved it from the showroom to your house.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with shopping in furniture stores here and there, but there's a
Mhm.
way to get your home to look and feel unique for you and personal and functional.
Right. I guess kind of like your wardrobe, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So, yes, we'll talk about that, interestingly enough. That's how I learn a lot about people, is through their wardrobe and what they wear.
Oh, okay. Cool. All right. So before we go there, let's talk about stress and overwhelm. Okay. So like I can scroll on Pinterest all day long and I keep pinning things beautiful, 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 beautiful. Now I got too many things. So because like when we're done with our recording today, you and I are going to work on this office, which is pretty vanilla and it needs to not be vanilla. I know. I'm like so excited too. Um, and I've been scrolling Pinterest. I seriously, because I knew we were going to be talking about this. So I'm like, oh, I got to bring in, guess what? Color, right? But I don't know, like this, that. So, so what happens is I get stuck because it's the paralysis of choice. Ooh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. But which one am I going to want? And unlike my wardrobe, where I can be like, oh, I don't like that shirt. I'm not going to wear it anymore. Redoing my office like once every 3 months is not happening, right? So the paralysis and then also the not having the belief that you can do it, right? Like that's I don't know how to do it. I don't know what I want. You should decide for me. But I know that's not your process because I have to be involved, right?
Definitely. Yeah, I'm not going to design anything that's vanilla. why would you hire me? You can go to the store and get vanilla. That's,
Right.
the special
Yeah.
thing working with a designer is that you get something personal and special and unique for you. And I can help you, figure out how to do it on your
Right.
own.
Oh, I
Or
know. I know, and you will. Um, and I will tell you though, let me tell you something interesting. I remember my stepmom had hired a designer years ago to do her house. And then she went to a neighbor's house who hired the same designer, and the same stuff was in there.
that's
She like
beautiful. Oh, no.
reused.
Oh,
Yes.
that's
Like,
very good.
right? How
Especially with a
awful.
neighbor. Yeah.
Like, to
Not right
me,
hair design.
that's someone who just is lacking creativity if they can't create something new and fresh for every single person. But like, I know I've seen many of your designs, and I mean, everybody, if you go to our website, you'll be like, your jaw will drop, you'll have drool hanging out, you'll be like, oh my God. So they're all so incredibly unique because I know you
That's
start,
because my clients are all unique, and I make sure that that is part of what comes through is what they need, want, and who they are.
right? All right, cool. So if we want to bust this stress, bust this overwhelm, bust
Okay.
this blank canvas problem, that's what I got going
Yeah.
on.
Okay. Let's talk about the blank canvas.
Okay.
I also do fine artwork, and there's this whole thing about the blank white canvas.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, as a matter of fact, behind me is one of my artworks. I paint all my canvases black before I do anything. Because for me, it just wipes out the fear of the blank white canvas because it's clean. Once you put something on it, then it's like, oh, it's a decision. But I start painting on it without making any decisions, and I start with black. Or, you could start with anything, right? You can start covering that canvas, assuming it's just going to be a background, right? So,
Mm.
and it's a way that I can loosen up and start engaging in that. So, um, for anybody, dipping their toe into design in their own home. There's ways to kind of break that overwhelm and fear. With my clients, I start with having them, we set up a shared Pinterest folder and a folder for each room that they're doing. And I
Mm-hmm.
have them just dump in a whole bunch of pictures. I said, don't think about it too much, just start dumping in a whole bunch of pictures. And it's like, if they don't know what they want, this is a good way to see the commonality in what they're choosing.
Ah,
It helps me to see kind of what they're thinking, kind of where they are. And it helps them to really understand. So I really recommend starting with Pinterest. Don't get overwhelmed by it. But once you start to see yourself, putting in the same things and then you have to look and see what's the common factor, what you're choosing.
right,
And that'll help you get to know yourself.
right. Okay. So get to know yourself. Is
Mhm.
that in this logical process that you have to creating a home you love? Is that the beginning? Is get to know yourself and you use
Yes.
Pinterest?
Absolutely. So Pinterest is one thing, but like go to your closet. What colors are you choosing? What styles are you choosing? Do you have a lot of florals? Do you have a lot of more structured clothing? Do you have, what is it about your clothing that you choose and your style for yourself that will translate into your home? And I guarantee you there's absolutely a common thread there.
Oh, interesting. I'm going to go in my closet and see what's there. Okay. All right. So, in getting to know yourself, interestingly enough, in my profession as a coach, people come to me because they're stuck, right? Just stuck in a different way, right?
Right, right,
Um,
right.
and when you're going through a big life transformation, whether that be like, navigating a death, a divorce, or something new and beautiful, a new child, moving into a new home, moving to a new city, right? Any big transformation comes with it an identity shift, we'll say. And this identity shift is like, okay, I can't go back because this big thing has changed, but I don't know who I am in the new world of this big thing. So getting to know yourself is the very first step that I also take my clients through. Who am
Yeah.
I now? And I mean, who am I like outside of roles and responsibilities? Because I'm going to always be a mom. You know what I mean? But who am I now, given this big change? Who am I no longer? Right? What parts of me have I left behind because they don't feel like me anymore? And when in my profession, it's actually something that happens, we have something called the change cycle. Change is very predictable, even though people think it's not. It's really predictable. Just like you're saying, there's a logical process. There's a logical process for moving through change. And when you move from square one to square two, where this square one is like this big liminal, I don't know what's happening phase, but you move into square two, this is you're getting to know yourself. And one of the huge thing that happens, it's so cool, is during this phase, you feel the need to change your hair, change your surroundings, and change your wardrobe, which
Absolutely.
I did. Remember when I put the streak in my hair and it goes all spiky and I got the streak, right? Remember that? I know you
Awesome.
hated the
Yeah,
streak,
I
but I
loved
thought
it.
it was
No,
cool.
no, no. No, it was awesome. Yes, definitely. And
Um,
it was very you.
it was
Absolutely.
very me, yeah. And then we put the color into my house. And then I'm looking through my wardrobe and nothing feels like me anymore, but I don't know what does feel like me yet. So this get to know yourself is it's huge and it's happening for psychological reasons. It's not only just because you moved into a new house. You feel this pull, right? Like, and you probably run across that with your clients.
Very parallel to what you're saying. People move for different reasons, right? And they move cities, they move states, they just move houses in the same neighborhood. They move because they live in a bigger house because they have a bigger family. There's like all sort of smaller, anywhere from living in an apartment to a mega mansion. There's always different reasons and needs.
Mhm.
Um, and so for that reason, you need to kind of reevaluate and see what change is happening and why it's happening and what will serve you in this next space and this next, effort. Maybe you're staying in the same place. You've been there for 25 years. You're not moving, but you just don't feel like you want something a little fresher.
Right,
And so you have to think about like what the goal is in all of this. Um, I do it with my clients where I ask a lot of questions and I get to know them. And if they don't know exactly, I kind of help them figure it out.
right.
Um, and if it means you need to go shopping and get a new wardrobe to figure out what's going to go in your home, that's okay too. I support shopping.
Totally. Okay. So the first step in the logical process is to get to know themselves. What's the second step?
So in designing a home specifically is what color palette are you drawn to?
Mm.
Figuring out what color. So in choosing a color palette, you want to have, and this, I'm going to give you these rules, but I break my rules all the time. So I make them and they break them. So generally you want to pick like three core colors. And then you want to add one or two minor colors
Hmm.
in your home to have a nice flow. If you've ever gone to like a model home, you'll see this. They do this all the time. Is they have their core color palette, um, and they carry it throughout the house. They don't do the same thing in every room. Maybe on these three core colors, maybe in the living room, these two colors are the major players, and then you use this as a minor color. And then maybe you add, your little minor colors sprinkled here or there, but you use them differently in every room. So every room still feels fresh, but
Right.
it feels cohesive.
Got it. Okay. Good.
That's how I work with color.
Right. That's
Um,
really smart. And it's I could see how honing in on that would be a good idea. I love so many colors.
yeah.
I mean,
So
you've known me. You know how many times I've redone my website and I keep changing it. Well, what color do you like? Well, this week I like this color, and next week I like a different color. So now,
For instance, I just finished a client
mhm.
that, and I'm saying this because I just noticed that all the colors for this client are in this picture right here. It was cream, brown, green, and gold.
Oh,
These were core colors.
hmm,
So we use those differently throughout the rooms. And then in the dining room, I threw in a painting that had lavenders. And
oh,
she had a really hard time choosing it because it was like not in our color palette. And I said it's a minor color that's going to give a little more dimension and interest to the space, and I want to sprinkle that here and there. So we got like a little floral that had some of the lavenders. I got a book for the living room coffee table, and then just kind of sprinkled it here a little bit here and there. But it gave it a little bit more interest and dimension. So
mm,
that add color made it really interesting. So don't be afraid. If you have something that maybe doesn't go with that core palette, don't feel like it's a rule. Break that rule. If you have something, bring in, you might have something from a family member that's passed, that's special to you, incorporate it. Even if it's not exactly that color palette,
right.
don't worry, it'll make your house personal and interesting, to bring in those pieces.
Right. Okay. So now that you say that, wait, I have this thing I have to show you right here.
Okay.
When I was a little girl, I'm talking in the 60s, this was in our living room and we used to spin it and play with it all the time. Can we incorporate this funny bowl into my office space?
Yeah. Well, I see it's a beautiful color palette right there. That could be your whole color palette. And
That could be my whole color
browns,
palette.
greens, blues. It's beautiful. If that's your color. And sometimes we do that. Sometimes we find some minor piece that just speaks so strongly to a homeowner that we kind of pull everything
Right.
from that, you know?
Yeah. Well, it would be, that's actually cool. I didn't even think of that as a starting point.
Yeah,
Thank you so
that's
much.
sure.
So yeah, my mom passed away recently, and this is one of the
Okay,
things
well,
that I just
we
was like,
honor her in your office. That's great.
right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Step three then. So we got get to know yourself. Pick a color palette. What's step three?
So think about what your needs are. Like it's more of a practical solution is do you need more storage? Do you need a place to put things whatever do you need more seating for because you entertain a lot, like whatever it is that you need. Maybe you do something that requires a lot of light or not a lot of light. You know, think about all the things that you need in your home. And I always tell my clients before I come over, do not clean up before I come. I'm not, a judgmental, highfalutin designer. I'm gonna no judgment zone when I get there. So think for yourself, don't even judge yourself. Be
Right.
really easy on yourself and say, you know what would make my life practically better? Like think of it in practical terms.
Hmm.
Because the design should come after the practical decisions. And they
Right.
should only speak to the practical decisions.
Yes. And I will bring up the room we did, the bonus room in Florida, my Florida house, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so this was like the design conundrum. I was like, okay, we're going to do this room, and you said to me, okay, so what are your needs? What are your living needs in here? I said, okay, it needs to be two offices. I need to be able to do a good podcast background. It needs to be I have to have room for a queen size bed, but we're not going to keep it out all the time, but just for when we need it. And it's got to be a place where I can coach my clients. So I need to sit across from them on a couch, all in one room. So you're like,
So like
okay.
any other designer would have fired you. But it became a great creative challenge for me. And it took a while. We did a little, a lot of iterations. So, when you're designing your space, maybe your first solution doesn't have to be the last, right? You can, what if we did this? What if we did that? Get your partner to pick up the furniture and move it around so you can actually see it and feel it.
Yeah.
Maybe take it out of the room because maybe that one doesn't go. Just, think of what all the possibilities are. And yeah, that was a tough one, but we ended up doing a very good job, I think.
Yeah, and what's amazing is when I use it as an extra guest room, it also has, because it has like the sofa and the little other chair in it. They, if I have a family staying in the back of the house, they have this like their own little living space
Oh,
where,
great. Yeah.
yeah, they have some privacy and whatever. So I didn't even say that was in the mix, but yes, that happened too. Like, oh my God, how you solve that challenge. So, and then also I remember a design, and maybe you've done this more than once for clients, but I remember you showed me the before picture of a family room with kid toys everywhere, right? And then you showed me the after, and I'm like, well, where are all the toys? And you said, you see that wall the TV's on? And then you push the things and they're hidden, and inside there was all this beautiful storage. But when it was closed, it was this feature wall, like, oh my God, you thought of that. Like, that was so cool.
Yeah. The wife wanted to have a Zen space, and the husband and kids had a million things. And so we just put this hidden wall that looked like a trim wall.
Right.
And and then it was like all there. They were so happy. Yeah.
That's amazing. Like so amazing. So yeah. Okay, cool. Let's move on to the fourth thing. So first, get to know yourself. Second, pick a color palette. Third, identify your living needs because that's the more an important driver. And what's the fourth one?
What was the fourth one?
Oh, I think you said it's make it personal. It's what we did with
Oh,
the paintings of the kids,
yeah. Okay.
right?
Well, thank you. So in making it personal, think about, have you been a collector of something? Like I find, I'm not a collector myself. I'm more of a get rid of it kind of person, but people that are collectors, I really respect that. And I think it's interesting. So how can you use the things that are special and personal to you as part of your design. So whether it's something that you've just, I love to collect shelves and we're going to do your spa bathroom, we can incorporate those in some interesting way. If you can't think of the ways to do it, then Google that. Once you're specific on what you want to do, it's like going into I love fashion and I love shopping, but I get overwhelmed in department stores because you don't know where to go. I prefer going to boutique stores because I know it's more what's the word? Predictable on what I'm going to find. And so I can make my decisions easier. I think a lot of people have trouble when this whole vast space called the internet and they're shopping and they're sourcing and it is overwhelming. And that's a lot of the reasons why clients come to us because they just get so stressed and so overwhelmed. And it's better to kind of figure out what you need, what you're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's much easier when you have your color palette, you have your personal things you're working with. Like, what are you starting with in your home? Is there nothing? Is it a lot of things where you can't part with? Are you and your partner like both feuding on this sofa? Whatever that is. And, I work with a lot of couples that I have to really, flesh out what's important to each one of them and
Right.
kind of figure out because it's both their homes, right? I'm not going to take the sides of either partner. So you have to find out for everyone who's living in the home, what are the deal breakers, right? And be really specific on that. So the more you hone in what you need and what is functional for your family, the design comes after that. People think I just, pick fabrics and fluff pillows. And I do like to do that too, don't get me wrong. But that's really not the main thing that you do in design. So
Right. I love,
those are the steps.
yeah, I love that you brought that up because that's probably a big thing. Like I have one taste, my husband has another taste. I know people, it took them 8 years to buy a coffee table because the two of them couldn't agree on a coffee table.
Yeah. And so what I do is I kind of find out like what's most important to each partner. So sometimes it's like a different room and they'll say, okay, that one gets this say on this room and then I get say on this space and then we can kind of come together on this here. And it
Hmm.
helps when each partner feels they're respected and
Right.
heard. That's a really big thing. It
Right.
happens a lot. Husbands get dismissed and the wives take over or, you know, whatever your living situation is, there's always a partner that might feel a little more disrespected and not heard as much. And I try to balance that so they both feel really like a part of the process. I had a client that told me that her and her husband stopped going to therapy after I did all this with them because it was really, they were having trouble with the house. And they thought it was a couple trouble, but it was really a house problem. If they help them get through all that, they're like, they were fine then.
Design therapy. I think it's fantastic.
Fantastic.
Oh
Yeah.
my God, that's
That was
fantastic.
a high point. I really loved hearing that.
Yeah, yeah. And it is interesting. Similarly, I mean, okay, as a life coach, like it's similar. I have an individual, I don't do couples coaching. So I have an individual come to me, and individuals want to feel heard and they want to feel, validated, of
Yeah.
course. Um, and one of the best and most important things that I take them through is having a better understanding and more respect for the other person. If you understand where they're coming from, then maybe you won't feel so attacked or you won't feel so judged, right? So where are they coming from? And the fact that you can bring that out when in the process is so huge. And I think that's probably individual. I don't think most designers can do that. I think most designers have really good taste, and you are like the coach designer,
I think they should go to you before they come to me. They're clear. They'll have clarity in what they want, and then I
Mm.
can help them.
Yeah, that's wild. Yeah, that would be cool for sure. Send them my way. Okay. All right. So now we gave them a logical process. Get to know yourself.
Mhm.
Pick a color palette. Identify your living needs and make it personal. That is beautiful. And then of course we went a little bit deeper on respecting and having, understanding your partner and other people who are going to be in the home and things like that. So I know if someone is like, okay, thank you for telling me all the steps. I'd like kind of like a little guide. I know that you have something you can send them, like it's a free resource. And I believe you answer these questions like how to make your home feel finished. So even if they started with buying everything at the furniture store and they brought it all in, like my daughter and her boyfriend, that's what they did. They bought, and it's all matched. They went to the store, we'll take that whole thing, right? So they did that, right? But now how to make it feel finished, how to make it personal, right? Where to start and how to create cohesion. So you have a resource for that, right?
Yeah, you can just email me. There's a contact form, and then just put free in the subject line, and I will send you that sheet. No problem.
Oh, that would be really great. Great. Okay, so your website is, say it out loud.
Deborah at
No, wait, no, your website. Yeah.
Yeah, Deborah Gregg Interiors.com.
Okay. And that Greg has got 2 G's at the end, everybody, if you're just listening. But I will also put all that in the show notes. So we will have that. So, Deborah, thank you so much for being on Conversations Worth Your While and sharing your expertise so that our listeners can feel like it's much more doable to create a home that feels like them without the overwhelm. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Yeah. And as soon as we hang up, we're gonna like be doing this office. I'll move the camera around. Okay. All right. So everybody, that is our show. Thank you so much. If you are ready to get unstuck and get to that next level and get the most out of your life, there's a little quiz on my website. You can take that and you can find out exactly how close you are. There's all sorts of good stuff there. So go to lindabucher.com. Be sure to subscribe to this podcast and like this episode and share it with someone you care about, maybe someone who's been struggling with design for their home. Come back next week for another great show to help you grow. And until next time, make sure that you've made this conversation worth your while by fueling the spark that it ignited.